Hello and welcome back. I am Darcy Darkness. This is Confessions from the Darkside. How are you all in this wonderful community? And today it's Confessions from the cranky side. Yes, that is. We're going to get all cranky. Well, we're going to be cranky in arm. We're going to do this together. We have been talking about this since the original podcast. Since last year when we started this podcast, we have been saying this. I'm going to get the disclaimer out of the way and then we can get into this. We are full of so much adult content that some of you think this is unnecessary and some of you may think that this isn't needed. If you are one of those people, then thanks for checking us out. But I'll say this only once. If you can't stand the heat, then get the fuck out of my kitchen. Now for everyone else who likes what we have here, then regular scheduled programming will continue. Shall we get started and are we ready? Well, like I said, what we're covering today, well, it's Confessions from the Cranky Side, The Crow, and how the public reacted. I've already uploaded the Hollywood Report on what they said. That came out on the 22nd, I believe, but I got it on the 23rd because obviously we're a wee bit ahead, a few hours ahead. So therefore, by the time I wake up, some of the articles have already been uploaded. So I've already shared that with you. The elephant in the room. That is Bill Skasgard. Not only has he totally destroyed Pennywise in making him a comedy act, I have seen him as Eric Draven. Yes, he is an actor chosen to be the Crow, and now we have Judgment Day. That's right. It's here. Let's see what the media and the audience have to say. One of many, many podcasts, like I said at the start of this, about this. Let's delve in, shall we? What do we think of the portrayal of Eric Draven and the reboot of The Crow? What have people actually thought when they went to the cinema to see it? The people who were naysayers and saying that we were all wrong, coming to attack us because us, the fans, keeping a universe alive for 30 years and also the memory of the late Brandon Lee. As I said before, you will not ever not see a Crow at Halloween or at Comic-Con. We have kept the universe alive. We have kept, it's literally like a museum stuck in time every time we watch The Crow, like we said, because it is emotional knowing that that's his last film and that he died in the making of that film, and that we have kept his memory alive by having so much love for that project and having so much love for that movie and the story, and it means a lot to people who are alternative, from the alternative community and the gothic subculture. So we have been attacked by many media over the years, not even just for this, and in real life, that people have been attacked for how they choose to live their life, the music they listen to, how they dress. It's actually a hate crime here and has been for some time. So let's see what IMDb has in reviews, since there wasn't as many this week because the movie wasn't out yet. But let's see what people think. I went for the 1 out of 10, like the worst reviews of it, or the best reviews. A few of them are long, so we'll see how this goes. 1 out of 10. Very boring and drawn out. Smack 28914, August the 24th. Just got done seeing it with my wife and teenage son. I went in with an open mind. I wanted to like it, but it was horribly boring. They spent 90% building up the love story of the two main characters that I very much disliked. Then there were maybe 15 minutes of action at the end that felt like nothing. Action does not make up for the dull storytelling. Exactly, mate, exactly. They try too hard to be unique with the music too. I would have rather watched The Crow Wicked Prayer. Oh, fuck me. At least that was unintentionally funny. The guy next to me at the theatre fell asleep and snored. My son also fell asleep. That should tell you all you need to know. If you can't keep a teenager captivated in the movie and they fall asleep, then well, there we go. Razmoy, what a waste. 1 out of 10. In the original movie, Eric and Shelley were good people fighting for their rights in a dark and messy world. They were about to be married and shared a long-lasting loving relationship as two individuals who happened to be goth/alternative. They organised their community to prevent their homes from being taken over, and because of this they were targeted by a corrupt criminal network. In this remake, however, Eric and Shelley are portrayed as criminals and drug addicts with a short-lived but passionate infatuation. The first half hour or more is filled with corny, cringeworthy scenes as they try to crowbar in a relationship where there is none. It's a rough watch and Eric comes across as whiny Honestly, there seems to be more chemistry between Eric and a horse than between the leading couple. This is even underscored in a flashback during the supposed climax of the movie where the horse plays a significant role. The gothic elements are reduced to a hobo murder fantasy as Eric embarks on a killing spree in a theatre. The good news, again, a killing spree in a theatre, that's already again happened. It's more of like a ballet, I think, the way they describe that it's happening. But a theatre tragedy has happened, so that's a bit weird. The good music is gone, so are the interesting characters. The pacing is bad and the movie makes no sense without the original relationship's depth. The antagonist is uninteresting and they oddly introduce Satan worship into the plot for no apparent reason. Wow. The ending makes things even worse. Shelley is revived and after being found by paramedics, making it seem like nothing in the movie ever happened. Decent production cannot save a horrendous skip. Don't waste your time. So what? They kind of went back and she survived, but she was a bad person and she gets to relive her life. My god. Another remake disaster, BSF 72326. This film should not have been remade. The movie made no sense and so slow. I'm surprised if anyone stayed awake to watch this junk. And before you say I'm not open-minded, yes, I really wanted to like this film, but soon as the trailers came out, I was thinking, ugh, Hollywood can't even make a remake without destroying the story or new story ideas. Yes, I'm a fan of Brandon Lee's version, R.I.P. Brandon. I read one review that said that it was not great. What? I think they should be in the same facility as these characters in the new version or a psycho ward. Brandon Lee made the original Crow his own. This movie isn't even close to the original. John Burr 43977 says no. That's all he says as the title of his review. No, 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 no. God, please make it stop. Not like this. It's ironic. A film about a man unearthing himself from the grave to go on a revenant rampage should all these years later be dug up by grave robbers just to be defiled on the silver screen. Bill, who can't act and act well, doesn't. FK Twigs, ? FA acting talent, more like. To be fair, with this writing and direction, who knows, she may be a future Academy Award winner. The cinematography is, to be fair, not bad, but lacks all of the mood and sense of place of the reel. The director, I'm sure, was there. He was there in spirit. Oh, sorry, he was there physically, but in spirit, obviously not. I don't think that man has any sort of depth. The violence is, I think, the closest to a win. We get, of course, no one on set is Brandon Lee, but the choreography isn't bad either. Don't go see it. Don't hate post about it. Just put it back in the ground and forget. And try to forget it exists. I'm not sure what I just watched. Harmony B 92668. So I understood that this was a remake of the original film following the comic book adaptation, not to mention the 3 other films following the original, but this movie is far removed from what The Crow feels like, even compared to the lame follow-ups to the first movie. It's a generic angst-fueled teen movie. Wow. We have a Gen Z couple, slightly entitled, otherwise likeable. Them against the world type vibe. What else happens while this is established? I really couldn't tell you because the film is all over the place. Tragedy strikes and the lovers are separated, only for our protagonist to return, souped up, angry and ready to kill, and off he goes. Other than the makeup, nothing feels like The Crow. It doesn't even feel like it with the makeup either, for me. Nothing dark or brooding about this film in the comics and in the other films. Almost every frame was gothic and decayed. The music in the first film was awesome and blended so well with the look and feel, as well as the main character being a musician. That is nowhere to be found here. By the time the film draws near to the ending, you'll just want it to be over. I wish Hollywood would hire new talent and write new stories instead of continuing to butcher much loved classics. This movie is bad. I agree with you. It's one thing to remake a movie, it's another one to disgrace it with a remake. Cody KF. This movie should be discontinued and buried in the same landfill next alongside the ET NES cartridges. The nerve of Hollywood to think we need them to push their unimaginative remake is laughable. This movie is the product of the people surrounding themselves with yes people. I agree. And buying in their own skewed reality. Again, agreed. Because the reality is no one with common sense and a decent head on their shoulders would say making this movie in this way would have been a great idea. Agreed. It's an outright attack on the legacy of the original Crow. Bring a barf bag with you. If you absolutely have to see this movie, maybe a pre-game and pop a few antidepressants beforehand too. You're going to need it. Wow, I never felt like that when I watched the original Crow, that I needed to consume alcohol and pop antidepressants to get, or pop happy pills to go see a fucking movie. What the fuck? Cringeworthy. I can't really say your name. It just makes no sense to me. My brain just can't do that. So it's Tune in it. Okay. As a fanatic of the original The Crow, with Brandon Lee, I went into this movie with an open mind, hoping the producers would not disappoint. I left the movie theatre with my childhood shattered into pieces. I've felt that a few times with the remakes, and it's disgusting to feel that way. Only thing that came close to the original were the names. The music doesn't even match the scenes, nor does the actor have the emotional capacity for the story itself. Poor Bill. It's like they ignored the core of what the story is about and added this "I can make this movie better" type feel. Yes, I agree that Rupert Sanders has that whole personality type feel that most likely came from the producer's ego. Most likely. I don't even think it's the producer's ego. I think it's more Rupert Sanders himself, because he can do better. Snow White and the Huntsman. That's all I'm saying. Some movies are just better left alone and in their own world. Brandon passed away for his legacy, but you guys turned it into a tax write-off. Scratch my head. Not Axel miscredited. Do not waste your time on this. It's not the comic book adaptation they tricked you into believing it is, and doesn't feel like the Crow movie at all. This is an over-the-top gore movie that incredibly boring for the first third of the movie. Bill is a talented actor, but this was just a miss. It tainted the legacy of the Crow, as most of the franchise hadn't already done that already. Since most of the franchise had already did that, yes, because it technically wasn't a franchise. That's the thing. They made it a franchise by releasing all those sequels. This just feels like an attempt to money grab, even setting up for a sequel, which we can only hope doesn't happen. This might appeal to TikTok editors and edgy teenagers, but other than that, they've missed the mark. See, this is what I mean. Bill wasn't happy with the ending that Rupert Sanders had picked. He said that in an interview about 2 months before the movie was supposed to be released. He also said it before the movie was actually supposed to be released, because it was pushed back twice from its original release date, because it was supposed to be released in June, and then they said because there was too many movies with Bill in them. I said, oh my god, he's got a job. His job as an actor. He's going to be in fucking movies. Just because he's getting picked for them, because he's like the name, or the name people want in their mouths or whatever, because he comes from a long line of amazing actors. His family are incredibly talented. His dad is a Swedish actor who's not only broke the scene in Sweden and made a name for himself being a household name in the family, but also worldwide as well. He's been in so many different movies, and his dad is an amazing actor. His brother as well. He's all his brothers that are actors, that are amazing actors. Alexander Skasgard is an amazing actor. He was in True Blood. He's been in loads of things, and he is such an amazing characters that he brings to life. He brings them depth and brings them to life. Bill is a good actor, but he keeps being put in fucking remakes, and he's not the sort of person who has got enough sway to actually reboot it, especially if the script is shit. There's only so much he can do. So please don't blame the actors. I don't try and blame the actors unless they are terrible actors, but the script didn't seem to be... First of all, they said it was a sequel. Then they said it was a remake. Then they said they were going to remake it, and then they said they were going to make it a franchise, and I was like, oh god, no, because technically Bill wouldn't be able to come back. When you finish to have your unfinished business and you avenge, then you go to the place where you can be together. That's what happened. And then it happens to someone else, and that's the way the other stories went. That's probably the only kind of realism of the crappy sequels of the franchise, that it went to someone else that had a tragedy, that the Ravens sought out, that things were unjust and things should have been set right. That's probably the only thing that's actually accurate about the sequels, even though they're terrible. But Rupert franchise wanted Bill to be the head of a trilogy, basically, and a franchise, and it wasn't happening. So they said it was going to be more like the comic book. They had one scene or two scenes, I believe, maybe. The bath scene being one is in the comic, and that's pretty much it. Because the love story isn't there, because they aren't lovers. Well, they're lovers. They're one night stands, or a 2 night stand. A fling, basically. A fling. They brought him back to avenge the fling that he met in court-ordered rehab. So his infatuation, not the love of his life, his infatuation of a person who wasn't a particularly nice person in the first place. Not like the original story. But hey, please just watch Brandon Lee's instead. 1 out of 10. Bang 9/7. 999. Brandon Lee worked incredibly hard to create the perfect Eric Draven. I hope you are aware he unfortunately lost his promising life in the process of filming. This movie's Eric Draven should not be called Eric because that is simply not who he is. Completely different people that should have had many different names, That would have made this disrespectful remake slightly less of a stab in the heart. It felt like they made every possible choice to go against the emotions and beliefs of the original. I didn't pay to watch this theatre employee benefits, in brackets. I never would have. For I know you can't get better than Brandon. I would highly recommend you don't put yourself through this movie. If you want to see The Crow, go rewatch the original. It's a classic for a reason. Please don't ever let this overshadow the original at all. This movie never should have been made in the first place. Wow. That is... I feel that I agree. So we have Whoa, Disaster, KYWMXFG. Whoa, it's been a while since I've been this disappointed. The whole theatre was annoyed. If you've ever seen the original Crow, you'll just think this is another bad movie, but for the fans of The Crow, it felt like a personal attack. And again, we felt like that since we saw the stills, we saw the posters, and we saw how they were going to portray Eric when he looked more like the Joker than the comic book. Like Rupert Sanders had said, they're trying to be true to the lore. No. But Brandon Lee's Crow was cool. This is anything but. Just so monumentally lame. From the writing to the acting to the storyline. If anyone can explain what this even is, from the design and the music, why Rupert Sanders? Why? The new generation will never want to see the original Crow now because of how bad this movie sucked, and that's a shame. Huge missed opportunity here. Now I get why Bill Skasgard looked so uncomfortable during the press tour. He already knew this was a disaster. He did, because he came out and said it in an interview without giving spoilers. W. Miller 44005. Abomination. How many words are we going to use to describe things that we don't like and that are absolutely atrocious? We'll probably hear them in these. These are all 1 out of 10s, by the way. 1 out of 10s. Abomination is the only word to describe this movie. My wife and I went into this with open minds, as the original is one of our favourite films of all time. It ruined my wife's whole deal to the point she had to come home and watch the original to get this abomination out of her head. The love story, or lack thereof, makes no sense. The acting isn't Bill's fault. He's a good actor, but the story is horrible. Lack of him in the Crow makeup is even worse. In the original, we understood the length of the relationship, which in turn makes sense why he would come back a year later to avenge their love. This movie is immediate. Lionsgate should offer refunds or free tickets to another movie, as this should have went straight to streaming. And this is what I feel like for Lionsgate, because Lionsgate starts filming Highlander in Scotland in 2025, where they picked an English lead when there's plenty of Scottish actors they could have picked. Yes, Christopher Lambert was French, but we enjoyed the French Christopher Lambert, and some of the anecdotes we found out that he was, because he's partially sighted, he was scoring people with the massive sword because of his depth perception and stuff and his sight. But we loved him as it. Do I think Henry Cavill's going to be able to be the one who saves us and there can be only one? No, I don't think he can. I don't think he can act particularly well. He needs to go and get some acting lessons because he's, again, a puddle. There's no depth to that man. He's just a big false persona, and I'm not going on a rant about him today. I don't know what the fuck that was. Moro 36712. I've never reviewed a movie, nor have I ever left a theatre before a movie's end. Tonight is a night of firsts, apparently. This was not good. People in the theatre were laughing at the absurdity. Everything about it was disjointed. We never get the chance to know the character or their motivations. The love from O'Barr's graphic novel was nowhere to be found. Instead, it just was a jumble of ideas puked on the screen. Seriously, I'm really disappointed. Momoa did himself a favour by backing out. Agreed. Do I love the original? Absolutely. Did I go with an open mind? Absolutely. Did it fail me? Absolutely. I really like that, Mono. You just hit the nail right in the head there. 1 out of 10. Take a pillow with you, you'll need it. Stuart P. Bottomley. You know a film is going to be bad when the opening credits have more than 5 production companies on it. That makes me laugh. How I didn't fall asleep while watching this is a miracle. Cinema staff will be having to wake up customers by the end of this. Remakes are always going to be compared to the original. Sometimes they are as good, sometimes they are better, sometimes they are just about passable, and sometimes they are this. The characters are unlikable, the acting is missing in action, the action scenes look like they were very staged by a first day film student. Don't go watch this, watch the original instead. Exactly what I've been saying. Save your money, watch the original. If you want a laugh, watch the fucking sequels in the franchise. They're a comedy. Jesus is King Zone 3, sigh. I compared it to Brandon and was immediately disappointed. Sadly, the movie dragged on and insanely boring. The only thing that was kind of good was the gore, but that's because it's 2024 and CGI is a good nowadays. The story just took way too long. Shelley's character was absolutely horrendous, and I don't like how Eric was just talking to people after he died. There was no mystique or mysteriousness to him, he just kind of was there. Not sure where that middle world came from or who that guy who spoke into people's ears came from, but it just wasn't good. I highly recommend saving your money. 1 out of 10, unnecessary by smiling underscore happily underscore guy 2002. Nostalgia has been driving cinema for the past few years, but there comes a time where it cannot save the industry. Agreed. The Crow 2024 was a movie that was unnecessary and proved a good idea can be wasted in poor vision. Agreed. The whole charm of The Crow, it was different and offered audiences something uncharted. In this adaptation, it's all been done, and unfortunately better. Bill Skasgard is talented, but he lacks the charm of being this dark soul. Earlier, he did a movie called Boy Kills World, where he's silent and put out a better performance than this dribble he puts out. The director and studio banked on CGI and dull action scenes and totally forgot about the story and character. I agree. Brandon Lee's honour, Steve Williams. They did this in Brandon Lee's honour, though it just looks like they've ruined it in every aspect. Now, this is what annoys me. They said they weren't doing it to cash in on the 30th anniversary that was this year. Yet, they did. So everything they said that they haven't done or they have done has all been a smokescreen and a bunch of lies. And I wouldn't expect anything less from Rupert Sanders. His vision of movies is terrible. His direction is terrible and laughable at points. And then when he came to attack, like I said, the community that have kept The Crow alive and the universe alive and the memory alive, like Brandon was still here with us, because every time we watch the movie we understand the things and the lengths that he went to bring this character to life and his untimely demise when he was taken from the ones that he loves and taken very, very soon before his time, before he could go on to show the world what he was even more capable of doing. So that's why everybody is getting a bit pissed off, because they've tried at every corner, every time they've tried to rebrand the film to something else. They literally have nowhere to turn because they've lied so much and they can't remember half the shit they fucking said in the first place to actually go back and what they fucking said each and every time. Brandon Lee's one was brilliant. I saw it with my dad and thoroughly enjoyed it. The photography was good in that version as well. Though this is like a goth version with the much part of it, and like they have remade it to give The Crow a bad remembrance, and Brandon Lee the same. It's not gothic. I've said that before, it's not gothic. Some films are better off not being remade, as now people will remember The Crow, as this isn't a good way of remembering. Also, the Crow bird in this remake looks like doesn't want to be anywhere near Bill Skasgard, like he just isn't meant to be the new remade Crow. Like the bird doesn't like it either. So how is it that this was the one that got made? Hearts Toll 64489. If I could give it 0 stars, I would. It was so bad it makes me want to drink. I waited 20 years for this piece of fecal excrement. Half the movie didn't need to exist, the other half was so ridiculous that all 4 people in the theatre were laughing. It wasn't supposed to be funny, it was just so bad and not in a good way. Bill Skasgard is a disgrace to Brandon Lee. Again, not Bill's fault. He cannot act. He can, and is the definition of a nepo baby. He may be, but there's nepo babies out there who actually do have talent. He does, but he should just step away from remake. They spent way too much time with backstory that they didn't need to exist. What backstory? From what I heard, it doesn't make any sense. They distorted the whole point of the original and the comic, and I really want to know if Obar is happy with what he allowed to happen to his masterpiece. I'm sure he's happy with the money this movie ain't gonna make. Wicked Prayer was better. Ha! Someone just said Wicked Prayer was better. Wow. That's sinking to some lows there. Like I said, the original, the writer who was adapting it back in 2012 doesn't even want his name attached to it, because his work has been obviously edited and rewritten to the way Rupert Sanders wanted it. So he doesn't even want his name on it. The people who did the set production and the costumes and the wardrobe said they've seen the movie, but it's not a patch in the original, and the gothic feel isn't there, presence isn't there from people who actually worked in the 1994 movie to bring the characters to life with what they did. So all the people from the original movie are not happy about the memory of Brandon, and it is always going to be an issue every time they try and say they're going to bring out a Crow movie. People just go, alright, then it's going to be shite. They made this out to be, it's not going to be a remake, it's a reimagining, which is just another fancy word for saying a reboot. And then they said they were going to do it justice, and they didn't wait 30 years to bring it out in the same year as the anniversary of Brandon's death and also the movie. They said they never did that, but they did. They cashed in on it because Rupert Sanders is a guy you cannot be trusted, obviously. No, just no. They need Alan 28-931. They need to let sleeping dogs lie. This remake and only comparing the new trailer to the original movie is not as good as the original. The plot, lack of chemistry between the love interests, even the action lacks quality of the original. This is one remake that should not have been remade. Brandon Lee put a great deal of effort into not only acting but the stunts and the sequences. He and his love interest had real chemistry between them, which is missing from the remake. There is just no believable connection between the two characters. It is just a slap in the face to Brandon Lee's quality of work that he put into the original and his legacy. Agreed. I guess it'll be another 30 years until we see the next Crow. Jesus Montecito? I'm sorry if I'm butchering that, but apparently the spoilers. I really don't care. If you listen to my channel, you'll know I spoil things all the time, not on purpose, it's just because I'm trying to be thorough and accurate. Over 50 movies are being released a month all over the world, and these terrible movies are being shown in the theatre, ? I just started going back on dates with my wife, and I honestly left feeling cheated out of my time, money, and a good memory. I am wondering who gave people the green light to show this mess. The movie did a horrible job showing the chemistry between the two leads. We have thousands of examples from other movies on how to build connections of love. The scenes shown from true love is sex, drugs, and parties. The entire movie was missing the gothic feel. Again, yeah. It's 2024 and we have hundreds of examples from other movies to make the movie feel dark and gritty. I guess the Crow is now a random ex-drug addict with tattoos and a normal day in America. The music also didn't fit the movie. Why put the fight scenes with opera music at an opera where no one heard all the guns being fired? No police in that city, apparently. If this is a gothic type movie, then why no dark gothic movies? Like dark gothic music if we had hundreds of good songs that could have made it more dark. Alien, Romulus, Ghostbusters, Mad Max are good advances of how old franchises can be done right. Well, Alien Romulus not so much because that's a bit woke. It's basically woke. Basically, they've made Alien Romulus, from what people are saying, changing the character from Ripley to Rain and just making it like a teens who get attacked in space. Now we've already had that. Jason went to space and even that was good. Jason is Jason. Friday the 13th is awesome. People defending that this has nothing to do with the old movie and this movie is its own standalone film. Can you please explain why they use the same character names of Eric Draven and Shelley? Why couldn't they just make it their own since they changed everything out? Lol. Cinematic excrement 1 out of 10. The Crow 1994, directed by Alex Proyas and starring Brandon Lee, is a hauntingly beautiful film that blends gothic style with visceral action, giving birth to a dark and tragic tale of love, loss and vengeance. Agreed. The movie's visuals, rain-soaked streets, dim neon lights and decaying urban landscape, creating a brooding atmosphere that captured the spirit of the 90s grunge era. But at its core, it's also industrial as well. The Crow was more than just a stylized revenge thriller. It was a heartfelt story anchored by Lee's magnetic performance as Eric Draven. His portrayal was powerful, fueled by raw emotion, and his tragic passing during the film only amplified the film's melancholy resonance. It's no surprise that The Crow became a cult classic, beloved by fans for its unique blend of gritty action, poetic sadness, and timeless gothic aesthetic. The film's success also lies in how to capture the comic book's essence while enhancing its themes. The iconic line, "It can't rain all the time," has become a symbol of hope amidst despair, giving The Crow a lasting emotional impact. The soundtrack, featuring bands like The Cure and 9 Inch Nails, remains one of the most celebrated elements, perfectly complementing the movie's tone. Fast forward to 2024 and Hollywood, whatever you want to call it, and its endless pursuit of rebooting beloved classics, yes, has unleashed a remake of The Crow. And let's just say it can rain all the time when it comes to this mess. The new version, directed by Rupert Sanders, strips away everything that made the original special. While the 1994 film was brimming with passion, artistry and a sense of soul, this remake remake is a soulless cash grab drowning in shallow CGI and lifeless performances. The original gritty atmosphere is now a gloss sanitised generic action flick look. The emotional core that gave The Crow its beating heart is replaced with hollow revenge plot points, and instead of the eerie gothic ambience we get by the number blockbuster aesthetic that fails to evoke any genuine feeling. Where Brandon Lee's tragic presence elevated every scene, the remake's lead stumbles through a script that's as soulless as the grave he supposedly crawls out. The 2024 remake is a painful reminder that sometimes a classic should be left untouched. Some stories capture a specific moment in time that can't be replicated or improved upon, just like The Crow did in 1994. And I totally agree with that. I do. Going through the ones that I haven't read again. So 1 out of 10, why did they go and screw up The Crow? Julie Blosser. I have said for years now, if they had the technology to make The Crow when they could make it much cooler, would it have been much cooler? And I said they should remake The Crow. When the CGI, it could be killer. Wrong! CGI can't carry a film. Well, if you thought CGI could carry a film, then you need to get your head out your arse. Brandon Lee was too perfect for that role. They need to get a better lead male actor. It's not like they don't have the money to pay someone who's good. Casting was terrible. Something about the hair, I tell you, that long hair Brandon had made him look more mysterious. It could alter him from soft, mysterious to tough. Should have left the hair on. Just a personal note, boring. It wasn't just his hair. The style of his makeup, the style of his clothes, the style of just... The trench coat is iconic. The trench coat, like I said, you will always have alternative kids or alternative adults even. I still have my original trench coats. I have the one that I got from Flip second-hand store in Glasgow that I got when I was 15. Still had it in my mid-20s. Doesn't fit me anymore. Still in really good condition, proper leather and everything. But since training, I've got bigger shoulders, so it doesn't fit. And then I had another one that was given to me in my early 20s, and I still have it to this day. Again, beautiful coats, can't wear them because, well, I have an X frame, so it doesn't fit. So I still keep them for nostalgic purposes. Yes, I do. It's from a time in my life where I felt more myself, and that's really weird to say that, but I think everybody has that thing where they keep something for nostalgic purposes because it reminds them of a time where maybe they were happy, or it's a symbol of something. And the part of me, which is the very part of me that I feel is my identity, is the fact that I have always been strange, weird and unusual, and I love the fact that I'm different, and I love the fact that there is no one like me, and that's a comfort for me. So when they do things like The Crow, I do feel that it was a personal attack, as a lot of people do. They did personally attack us, they did come out and say things, and that is why when people are going on about how he looks like the Joker and he doesn't look like the Crow and he doesn't look anything like what the Crow even looks like in the comic book at all. The makeup is different. He looks like the Joker, and when there's shirtless scenes of Eric in the comic, he's not covered with all those stupid pointless tattoos, because some of the tattoos he's got just look like something the Joker would get, and he does look like the Joker. That's the first impression I got when I seen the artwork. It was my husband's face of, oh, this is not going to end well. Kind of like, but she does quite a lot. I don't really know looks, but I can tell that look that he was going to be like, no, it's just awful, man. Absolutely. It says worst movie of the year award, Herbert. This movie was actually so bad I actually burst out laughing in the theatre. Walking out of the theatre, this was my first reaction talking to my brother. 10% of this movie is the worst movie I have ever seen in my entire life, and I'm a movie buff. 5% of this movie was good. I laughed out loud at more than one part, and it wasn't trying to be funny. It's not a compliment. I totally understand that they were going for gothic music and dark undertones, but their version of gothic isn't the same. Rupert Sanders doesn't understand gothic culture, and he obviously doesn't understand gothic music either. And music that people from alternative community would listen to when they're trying to capture this sort of element, because not all goths and alternative people listen to the same music. There is like a kind of spectrum. There is a spectrum of all music, but in the alternative community, you can just be like, you listen to rock, you listen to metal. Then you've got black metal, death metal. There's Viking metal, pirate metal. Then you have industrial, and then you have EBM, EDM. You have GABA. You have so many different styles of music. And The Cure was 80s and dark and gothic and romantic gothic as well. And then you had Trent Reznor, who is very, very, very talented musical savant genius. Literally can play any instrument. Very talented songwriter. Captures emotions like no one does. Seeing him live is something that you have to see because the man is truly talented. Him playing the guitar for Brandon Lee in The Top of the Rooftop, iconic as fuck. The music, the song Dead Souls, it's a big song for the movie and is used in the movie, and that's by Nine Inch Nails. The music, even the dark dreary club that he played at and where he met Shelley, they still went to, because it was like the only like alternative club, and that's what it's like for lots of alternative people. You've got to travel to go to a lot of these alternative places, because where you live they don't have it, but they have this place called Trash, and that's where he met Shelley originally, because she was a photographer, he was a musician, and she was taking pictures of the band, and they obviously developed feelings in a relationship. They fell in love. You saw flashbacks of their love, their connection, and what they meant to each other. And this plagued him through the full movie because she wasn't there with him and he'd been without her. So from what I can gather, that doesn't happen in this movie, because it's two drug addicts who go to court rehab, and then they fall in love within 24 to 48 hours, and they have sex, smoke some joints, have a bath, have a picnic, all while trying to hide from someone who's trying to kill her, but kills them both. And then he comes back to avenge her, and then apparently comes back at the end of the movie, and he's not there. Like, he's given up his life for a fucking stranger. Weird, weird, weird. 2 out of 10. I'm going to leave the 2 out of 10 ones for another day. That was the 1 out of 10 reviews. What did you think of the reviews? Have you seen the movie, and do you feel the exact same way about this movie, that they literally have tried to rebrand it, they've tried to change, and they've tried to adapt because they knew this shitstorm was literally going to land at their feet? And as people said, there's like 5 different production companies that are actually have funded this movie. Usually when there's more than 3, I feel that because this movie has been in the works for so long, 16 years apparently, started writing it 14 years ago, to the fact that they've actually lost probably funding, or the majority of their funding, and they've had to look elsewhere for other production companies. Lionsgate seems to be the kind of front runner for making reboots badly, and also reimagining the reboots by saying it's a reimaginative. Lionsgate seems to be the reboot killer. They also really like to have Bill Skasgard in a lot of these Lionsgate films. It's obviously because he is like the hot name for now, and they think that he has enough draw to put bums on seats. He doesn't really. I laughed at it. Lots of people laughed at it. Shouldn't be scared of a child killer, as I've said in many, many podcasts. I think he's a good actor. He was amazing in John Wick for the brief time he was in it. He was playing a powerful man, basically, in that world, and he was very, very good at it. Like I said, he's in that Boy Meets World, and he's silent, and he had more depth as a silent character than he actually did in The Crow, apparently, to some people. The 1 out of 10 reviews are the ones that probably they didn't want to be out when the film was coming out, which I totally get, but I looked for them and it was only 10 out of 10 ones. Now, the original only gets 7.5 out of 10, which again, still a good score for a movie or it's 30 odd year old. You really get a film that's 10 out of 10, so it wasn't believable when there was like 10 reviews of 10 out of 10 and 1 2-star or something like that made no sense. It's just like being paid to say things. Then talking about the aesthetics of the film and not the actual story, because people don't really care about the aesthetics and also the camera angles and the direction. They don't care about that. They care about the story. They're going to the cinema to be wowed, to be entertained and enjoy what they're watching in front of them. This movie obviously isn't hitting that. And how many times can Rupert Sanders be given chances to create a blockbuster blockbuster because he fails each and every time. So I want to know, it's like, who the fuck he's blowing, because there's no way. It's like, he's disastrous. His movies are lack of so many things. They've got no substance. There's no core that's actually genuine. And I just, as a director, he's very shallow. I really don't think he has depth at all. And when he seems to not like what people say, because he's obviously, again, there was someone in a review that said he's probably kind of surrounded by yes people who tell them what you want to hear. Now that's what happens to a lot of actors and a lot of people in Hollywood, that they are surrounded by the wrong people who don't want to say no. They give them this like weird ego that they are better than anything else, and they don't need to listen to anyone because they are right. Now, if you've been in multiple films in the past, even the past few years, you've been in multiple films and they are not, like even Bill Skasgard, when they did It, Pennywise, people were laughing instead of being scared. Stephen King captures a really odd, weird scare. Noises, pictures, visuals. His storytelling's different from the adaptions. His book gives you images you want to wipe from your brain, but you can't. So when you go see his visual adaptation, that's usually he does have his hand in, but there's other people obviously adapting it, you remember the scene differently when you've read the book, especially because of the way he describes things and his descriptive ways for us to remember these things. I have read his book, a few of his books, my favourites. I read them over and over again and I enjoy them each and every time, especially my favourite part. And his adaptions are never the best on screen, even when he does help, because there's too many cooks, writers and producers and everything around a table that basically just want to stay in their job, so they say yes to everything. And that's why I feel that it's like, rather than saying no, you do realise that's not accurate. And why would you do that? Because that makes no sense, because in the book this happened. Now, if there's things in books and comic books and graphic novels and the original lore of a story that you cannot do because of maybe they don't want the movie to be banned, for example, there's certain scenes people are not allowed to put in, like again Game of Thrones, there was a lot of things that George R. Martin wrote about that would not be good to put on screen. For example, there was scenes that depicted things that no one wants to see, but we've already seen it because we've created it in our brains when we've read the books anyway. They're just things that obviously we'll never ever see on screen because they are wrong, morally wrong, and most likely illegal. So there's that. But there's other ways to do adaptions, and this adaptation obviously is not the way to do it. And he's done it in a way where he's apparently had over an hour of drivel, then like 20 minutes of action, a love story that makes no sense. The Crow never said that they actually go back and they come back alive, because again, it would make no sense. It would make no sense. The Crow is supposed to have a connection to Eric. His eyes and his ears, it sees what he sees. It shows him what he needs to see, who he needs to see, and basically helps him to avenge. It's a guide to show him where he has to be and what he has to do. And the Crow shows him parts of memories, not only his, but Shelley's as well. So he knows who he's going for and the kind of punishment that he will be dishing out in her honour. Whether Shelley would want him to avenge her or not, it was the fact that they were good people and something bad happened to them. In this movie, these people are criminals who go to jail. Criminals who go to court ordered rehab because they're addicts. She has a shady past. He doesn't look particularly nice either, and looks can be deceiving, but the way they've portrayed it is that they're kind of down and outs that were killed that no one would really care about, which is an odd thing to say about a human dying. But do I think he should have been allowed to come back and avenge a death for someone he barely knew just because he stuck his cock in her for 48 hours? No. Do I think she should have been brought back after being a bad person? No. Do I think Rupert Sanders knew this movie was going to be a flop? I don't think he thought it was going to be a flop. I think he likes the smell of his own shit, that he thinks everything he produces is a diamond, and it's not. Do I think he should step back and maybe stop? Yes. Do I think he should just literally write this off as, I am not good at this, I should go do something else? Yes. Do I think he should shut the fuck up and stop attacking people because people have opinions and the internet makes us all amplified because we can say what we want in any sort of shape or form. We can voice our opinions. He needs to get used to it. He needs to get a thicker skin. If he's going to produce shite and create shite, then he should be able to deal with the backlash that comes along with it. But it seems he just wants to boo-hoo and cry about it and blame everybody else. Kind of like the way Hollywood has become. It's became full of whiny people who blame others and there's no accountability for anything. Again, I'm still in no rush to see it. I will wait till it's free to stream. I'm not wasting my time. I'm not going outside to potentially catch a cold or a bug that could literally render me incapable of doing things because, as you know, I have compromised immune system, so I'm not even going to even entertain that. I'll just wait. I'll wait like I did with all movies that I have been watching recently. Wait till they come free to stream and then I will do a full-blown review. And then everybody else can tell me what they think and we can have a discussion like mature adults. It might get heated, things seem to do, but all in all, everybody has their opinion and everybody has their voice, and no one should be shut up because of how they feel or how they feel or how they see it. I am Darcy Darkness. That was 1 out of 10 stars on IMDb reviews on The Crow 2024. If you like content like this, then you can go on over to our other social media platforms, which is Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Amazon Music, Spotify and Buzzsprout. If you want to get to know us as individuals, then I am Darcy Darkness and my channel is Behind the Mash Reviews. The spelling is on screen. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it's weird. Some people don't get it. I like it. I'm not changing it. Get over it. Lunar is Lunar X Rising and he has a YouTube, a Twitch and an Instagram and he is now affiliated with Twitch. Well done. We always knew you would get there. Well, we get there in there. Sometimes it takes time. And if you want to reach out to us at any point, if there is any movies, or if you want to talk about this, are you angered by the way that this movie has been portrayed and the way this movie has been promoted, then let us know. You can get us at confessionsonthedarkside@gmail.com, all lowercase, and Behind the Mash Reviews, emails at gmail.com. The spelling is on the screen, as I said, and lunarxrising@gmail.com. And as I said, this is Confessions from the Cranky Side. I am Darcy Darkness. This was The Crow 2024, 1 out of 10 reviews, and I will see you in the next one later.